up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, well, I don't wanna jinx it, baby, and twist myself at the spine. Don't wanna overthink it, baby. It's just twist your body and mine. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight oil. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, but I don't wanna jinx it, baby. Let's not get ahead of my time. Oh, but I don't wanna miss you, baby. So I stand up and speak just my mind. Oh. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're chilling wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight oil. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're channeling wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight oil. You whip up. We sit down again, talking about the world and where it's been. Our voices rise up through the static noise. Double D podcast with the unfiltered voice. Current events spilling like the wine.
All right, episode 7, Double D podcast. We've got a lot of stuff to cover. Today is Wednesday, September 11th. Pretty important day in American history. David and Dustin here. Fight Fi, investors lender. If you know anyone looking to either borrow or invest, let us know. Dustin, I know we got some stuff to cover today, so I'll kick it off to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dave. Today we're going to be talking about the debate last night as our full focus on the podcast. Obviously today, September 11th, 23 years ago, Dave. So where were you when September 11th happened?
Yeah, I think that's the first question, and people always say, I remember I was in algebra 2, 10th grade, vividly. I remember like literally it was yesterday, sitting there, and someone had said, I think a plane hit the World Trade Center. We're all kind of like, anyone having cell phones, or certainly cell phones like we do now. And it was just uncertain. I remember going to the next class. We had the TV on and actually saw the second plane hit alive. And that was when you kind of knew, holy, something's really going on. It wasn't just like, a random plane hit a building. It was, there's a terrorist attack. And so, yeah, I remember that vividly. What about you, man?
Wow. Yeah. I was also in school. As a lot of us were on the East Coast, at least, taking standardized tests, and they stopped the test. Pencils down. Everyone turned the TV on, and also at that time saw the second plane. So yeah, just an important day for us to never forget as Americans. Terrorists hijacked 2 United and 2 American Airlines planes, crashed one into a field with a lot of brave passengers, probably bringing that down, into the Pentagon, into the Twin Towers. and we lost a lot of American lives that day. And then, we were kind of, led to believe that there's these weapons of mass destruction. We're going to go to war with Iraq. It was Iraq, even though it was all Saudi terrorists. But, Iraq's weapons, and we're going to have this massive legislation that we're going to pass to surveil American people, the Patriot Act, and really an abomination of, American constitutional rights.
Privacy.
Yeah.
Lack of privacy.
And we went a lot of wrong directions as a country since then. And, for us being younger, not yet at voting age, for us, I remember watching the shock and awe live on TV when we went to war, and seeing that and being like, let's go America, like I'm so excited as a little kid, like
like all the first like set of games and whatnot, NFL and different stuff. Like right after it, we felt that American pride with the flag and the anthem and all that stuff.
I went to a Cubs game, Cubs, and I believe it was Diamondbacks. Got to see Randy Johnson.
Nice.
And I don't know if he pitched that day, but I went to a few games. But we had a B-2 bomber, stealth bomber, anything but stealth, fly over the Cubs at Wrigleyville, shaking the stadium, and you couldn't have felt more American at that time.
Yeah.
You remember all the patriotism? Everybody had the flags from the newspaper that they printed. I don't know if it was USA Today or I believe it was USA Today, but everybody printed those flags. They had them outside their houses. It was a very patriotic time in the country, but for really a lot of the wrong reasons.
Correct. Yeah. Like you said, it was a crazy amount of legislation, a Patriot Act that was passed almost overnight and really took away a lot of our rights and privacy that you start to think back about what happened and why it happened and things like that. It definitely gives you some more questions than answers. I think 23 years later, and counting as far as the amount of questions, why things happened, like you said, in the aftermath of that and the wars we got into, and really unnecessarily.
Yeah, and it's a somber day. It's a day that we, should always never forget. And I believe, it really makes it so important who we decide to elect as the free leader of the world, that is leading the world's most powerful military, and how important it is for us to not go to war again for, under false pretenses and under politicized things that are, false information. We need to check the media. We need to make sure that these things are real, and understand that the world is not as it's explained to us. Yeah. Unfortunately, that was a big eye-opening thing for me, and I understand why people are on either side politically because of those events that occurred, and I get that that understanding that I want to be of this thinking because I don't want that to happen again. If somebody's on the left saying, I didn't want to go to those wars, and we had so much corruption in that period, and I haven't seen it stop.
Yeah, it just seems to have exponentially grown as far as the corruption and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, 23 years later, a lot of amazing patriots unfortunately lost their lives, the firefighters and policemen and whatnot, especially in New York. Definitely want to remember all those people and also the passengers on the plane that crashed in Pennsylvania. But yeah, like I said, I think it shows how crucial it is. And obviously we had the debate last night and try to hopefully get answers as to who will be the best person to lead the country going forward. And I know for me, didn't really see a whole lot of positive thoughts and where are we going with it. It was more just kind of bickering in the past, and it wasn't a very uplifting debate as far as or informative. At least for me, I didn't really learn anything new.
Well, they skipped the whole part about their golf games.
Right, exactly. That was the main thing I was waiting for.
I was looking for that the whole time. I have no idea what Kamala's handicap is, and now we're not going to know.
Right. Yeah, maybe.
We will. I guess we will maybe see more debates.
Maybe.
Shocking. If I was her and I crushed Trump, in that debate for the most part. I wouldn't want to do another debate. Why would she? But apparently she thinks she did so good, or Democrats think she did so well that they're going to maybe have more.
Yeah.
Maybe we will find out those handicaps.
I hope so.
Skipping over the important topics, obviously. But did you catch before the debate that they had never met before?
I did not catch that, but that is shocking.
So ABC was reporting that Trump and Harris were meeting for the first time on stage at the debate. I find that like impossible to believe that
seems impossible.
Isn't there like I don't know. I should have looked this up before we had the podcast. So I don't want to sound unintelligent here, but like, do the vice president and the vice president's wife, do they live at the White House?
I believe so.
Okay,
yes.
so
but also there's a transition when like you kind of like you're handing over the White House, right? The vice president, the president, and their spouses meet the new incoming. So I don't see how they physically couldn't have ever met at least, or if not a million other times. I mean, it's politics. All people do running their mouth and they're in meetings and things. So I don't. It's hard to believe, but maybe
I don't think the vice president, and wife or husband, live at the White House. But I do think that, that's crazy that they wouldn't have met before. I mean, it seems like these, people are.
That is crazy.
There should have been a meeting at some point in time. I mean, really, Harris could live at the White House because Biden's on vacation all the time. I think most vacation of any president ever.
Yeah. And just to clarify, now that I'm thinking a little bit, knocking some of these cobwebs out of my brain right now.
It's the morning.
There is the separate vice president's house over in D.C. a few miles away, for gated kind of compound. But either way, like I said, that's hard to believe they hadn't met before. But yeah, it wasn't, just like I said, for me, regardless of partisan, it just wasn't a very uplifting, informative debate. I didn't really get anything out of it, honestly.
Yeah, and I think we'll get kicked off here with a little video of highlights. Kind of showing some of them, from both sides here. Let me call that up here on the screen and share that with our viewers. Again, if we're posting any of the videos that we have here as links in the podcast, in our description or in the comments. So if you like and subscribe and you're on YouTube or Facebook watching us, pull these up yourself and call these up. If we share articles or anything like that, we'll try to do our best to make sure we post everything from our notes from the podcast in the link below.
I did get some off-camera help here, and it's the Naval Observatory where the vice president and wife live.
Oh, okay.
So now we know. So
all right.
Shout out to Chris off camera here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Should have known that, but
hey, we're always learning stuff. So let's go volume up on this. And
of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom.
People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics.
It must end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out.
She hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party. I want the war to stop. I want to save lives.
If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
And remember this, she is Biden. She's trying to get away from Biden.
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country.
She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
This business about taking everyone's guns away, Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away, so stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. one that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward. But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And we can chart a new way forward.
Only like 20 seconds more here, folks. We're not going to play the entire debate for you, but just checking in and letting you know we're just going to wrap this up in about 20 more seconds of some highlights and then talk about it.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it?
All right. And I've been finding videos online, Dave, from like non-U.S. media that have produced like better, like, highlight reels of like the debates. I found one from Australian news media outlet. This is a Singapore news media outlet. If you Google the ones from like U.S. media outlets, you end up with stuff that's, I would say largely biased on one side or the other. If you do the Fox News highlights, you're going to have all the good things that Trump said. If you do any other news media outlet, you're going to have all the good things that Kamala said. And, unfortunately, we have to look at outside media outlets to get something unbiased to share with our viewers here.
Yeah, we need to look at un-American things to get the truth about what's happening in America, pretty much. So.
Yes, it's funny, but so if you notice us pulling up like Australian media or UK media or something else, it's just because we're noticing that it's less partisan and it's more down to the facts and not just about
what their agenda is and what they want to show.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, in America, it's the way it is. So, well, Dave, I mean, really, what'd you think about the debate? In your mind, who won?
Oh man, I mean, at best, if you're a Trump fan, at best it was probably a draw. At best, I don't think Trump performed particularly well. I don't think he hit a lot of the points. He looked a little bit tired to me. Kamala seemed to have maybe the questions ahead of time because she certainly had some pre-programmed answers. But I do feel like neither one of them answered the questions very well, which is just kind of normal. They kind of say what they want to say. But she did, hold herself pretty well.
So when they asked Trump about, the economy, he just immediately talks about the border.
Right.
And I think that the viewers, aren't putting the pieces together or following his like rhetoric and logic. Not that everyone's not intelligent watching it. I'm just saying that, his way to get to the point wasn't the best.
I agree. Yeah, I think the moderators did a very poor job of keeping them on topics. I know previous debates, they've done a better job of, okay, this section we're talking about the economy. This section we're talking about the border, XYZ. And last night was just kind of all over the board. And then the candidates went all over the board too. So that's what I was trying to say a minute ago is I just feel like I didn't learn anything new. I don't know either one of their visions any better. I don't have any positive momentum going from that debate. It was just kind of them bickering. Really.
Well, I thought the debate was well orchestrated. I think that viewers are going to be upset when only one candidate is fact checked repeatedly for things that they said that
Correct.
Has been reported oppositely in the news. And so Trump was fact checked several times, maybe 4 times during the debate, and Kamala was not.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to see that with ABC being a liberal news media outlet. And I think that that's an area for improvement for ABC. But I thought overall the moderators did a good job. I like that they had the muted mics.
That was good.
So they couldn't talk over each other the entire time. And you didn't have Kamala Pence. I'm speaking. I
agree. That was
her whole thing.
It was easier to watch that for sure. I just feel like I wish they would have had more section like this. This is going to be 5 minutes on the economy. This is going to be on have some true topics and they like divide those up. But I don't know. I mean, like any other time, there's pros and cons of how the moderators, pros and cons of how the candidates did. I agree with you. It was more enjoyable to watch. They weren't just bickering
And if you're a
cutting each
moderator,
other off.
Trump is hard to moderate.
Sure.
I mean, he's like, excuse me. I just want to respond to
Yeah.
one thing. And then he goes on for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So he's tough to handle if you're the media.
I
he
think it
bullies his
just
way through things.
it didn't. If you're someone, let's say, on the fence, I don't see how you are not on the fence still. To me, it's just like you're just still on that fence.
Or you're on
I don't know.
Team Harris, because I thought, in my opinion, to get back to what I asked you earlier,
Yeah.
I think that she won hands down, not even close. I think that she was very well prepared. Trump had the strategy of, I'm not going to prepare. I'm going to go off the cuff. I'm going to be honest and political. But he was baited, goaded, and he took the bait. I mean, he let them get under his skin. He was emotional. And if you look back and you just watch through the debate and you see, of the two of them, who's more presidential and who's smiling more and who's thinking about this strategically, you would say Kamala. She was smiling. She was presidential. She was well-spoken, and she was prepared. And whether or not, there's a pattern in this country of, liberal news media having, leaking or just blatantly handing over questions before. I don't have that allegation for this debate, but I do have an opinion that Trump was not prepared. He did get baited. He took the bait. He got emotional and did not act presidential. And if you were on the fence, I can't see how you would have chose Trump after that debate.
Yeah, and I think he makes some good points. I can't disagree with you for sure.
Yeah. So the one thing that I think I would have seen Trump do a better job of is poking fun at the other candidate. He can do it in a more presidential way, but still be Trump. I liked and had fun with when he said, you basically just plagiarize your entire policies that you just recently came up with. Half of them are policies that we've had posted. You just posted everything now, only a couple days before the debate to your website. He said it's 4 sentences long. It's a paragraph. And it's like run, spot, run. and,
I think
Trump
that
voice.
if
I
you
thought
think,
that was fun.
and I agree with you. Do you think though that by doing that helps him in any way, or does it look like, because people are always quick to say Trump's bully and mean? My thought is maybe they just shied away from that because they don't want to come. That just is more ammunition to say he's poking fun at her.
Yeah, I mean,
you see what I'm saying? I mean, I wish he would have, but it's almost like. Would that help the case?
I can be wrong. I can admit that I'm wrong on certain things, but I do think that helps him. I think that people relate to the American people. You're watching our podcast. You comment here and see if you think this is if this is accurate. But I think people are tired of the media's narratives on both sides. Always slanting things one way or the other. I think people are tired of false information online, things that are published, for either side. People are tired. People just want to get to where the media doesn't just report opinions and they report facts.
Sure.
And I think it helps when he pokes fun at things, because there is issues of plagiarism. There are issues of, saying repeatedly, I'm going to do these things. There's so much ammo for him to go after with Harris that he doesn't touch on.
Yeah. I agree.
She's a person, a politician that promises so much and delivers so little.
Oh yeah. And like you said, I agree with you 100% on that. I wish she would have gone in on her about anything really that she's promised and not done. But it did seem it's almost like he found out about the debate like the day before. Like it was almost like, I'm just going to show up and see what happens, and just didn't seem very prepared. I don't know what the right word is, but unfortunately that it wasn't his best performance for people that, like you said, that are on the fence. I don't think that was the best foot forward for him.
Yeah, well, as an example of one of the things that happened in the debate, so he was fact-checked about Haitian immigrants in Ohio eating people's pets, and said that the city manager said that never happened, and then Trump said, well, of course the city manager said that didn't happen. I saw it on television. But the way he went about it was like he was offended that he was fact checked. He was blindsided that he had to defend himself, and he didn't explain it in a way that was like funny, relatable, charismatic, presidential. He did it like a kid, like a child having an argument over his ego, and I thought that like it was an opportunity for him to throw something back at ABC and say,
well, yeah, and even explain the situation. Even then, if you didn't know it, you didn't know it after here and there. He should have either, in a funny way, actually explained what he's talking about.
yeah, and
It almost seemed like he made it up if he didn't know about the situation prior. So yeah, that was a poor job of just explaining it. A, B, poking a little fun at ABC for kind of saying, well, no, you're fact checking me, but that's not right. You guys are wrong. You know what I mean?
he could have poked
Yes.
more fun,
I agree.
and said like, when are you going to fact check her? But the other thing too is that there were two other areas I felt like he got so close to saying something that he could have said in one sentence very clearly, and he didn't need to say more. And he took a long time to get to the point, and then never really fully stated the actual point. So he's kind of putting the pieces together for the viewers about how Ukraine was really like, the whole issue there is really like, we let Russia build a giant pipeline to have more natural gas into Europe. And he says that he says everything but, and I don't know if he's afraid of getting assassinated, which would be a legitimate reason to not say something, but he doesn't say that the Biden family facilitated and took in a lot of money to facilitate Russia getting a pipeline through Ukraine. He says everything but that, and then stops short of it. The other area that I felt like he could have made the point a lot quicker on and more directly on was abortion. He said, for a long time in this country, we've wanted to make this a state decision, and we're a republic. We're not a democracy, right? The United States, look it up. Like the United States is a republic as a country. It was founded that way on purpose. It's not a democracy. And she talks all about democracy and democrat. It's like, that's not our constitution. That's not our country. The way that we're structured is to be states' rights. And, we're going to have some federal laws to oversee things, but he could have very quickly said that, the American voters care about abortion. It's been something that's been tearing our country apart for a long time, and it's a state's decision. And he could have said that in a sentence.
Yeah.
And
Right.
we made it back to being a state's decision. Instead, he, just kind of got baited into, you're never going to let any abortion be for any situation. You're never going to, allow these things. And then he said on the defense, got his hands up, and he's, not looking nice and presidential and smiling. And I wish he would have done some more
Agreed.
prepping, but
Yeah.
here we are, and these are the results, right? She did a great job. She was prepared, sounded presidential, and I think she won.
Yeah. I mean, good points for sure. I wish he could have done better just to give kind of the best foot forward for both candidates, just for the viewers, American people. But like you said, the results are kind of the results. It's over.
One policy item I'd like to go over with you. Like, there's a policy she's promoting that we're going to have a $50,000 tax credit for new startup small businesses. Dave, what percentage of small businesses fail?
90% fail.
90% of small businesses in the United States fail. So how much in taxes does a business pay that fails? If you lose money as a business, how much do you pay in taxes?
0.
Okay.
I actually get a write-off, but yeah.
Okay, so what good is an additional tax break?
No good.
I think that's
It's just a fluff point to make it sound good, but it's
we're
relevant pretty much.
gonna give money to small. You're not giving money to take less from somebody.
right.
You're still taking money from somebody,
Mhm.
right? That's not a gift, right? To take less. And at the end of the day, it does not help you as a business if 90% of small businesses that are created fail, and we're just going to give you a tax break. That's a fluff policy that doesn't really do anything.
100%.
I mean, we can talk about Trump policies that don't do anything. I'm still not a huge fan of like all these these talks of tariffs, and we're gonna just tax other countries for our imports. Like, it's not solving any problems.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly some bad policies on both sides, for sure. But like you said, I think the one you're referring to with Kamala, that's just such a fluff thing. It sounds really good, but it's not really actually doing anything. And that's where I think the debate missed, as far as there could have been some real like meat and potatoes, or, like that really discussed. And I didn't see much of value in what any of them were saying. It was just kind of a whole lot of talking, but nothing really of substance. So it just missed, I guess, for me, from both sides a little bit. But yeah, policy wise, certainly both sides have got some stuff to work on, and get rid of the fluff, and make some real true policies that have any sort of impact.
Yeah, and so Trump's always bringing up that we're taxing China, we have tariffs on Chinese things, and I really wish I could do a good Trump impression, but I can't. I don't have that accent, or I haven't figured that one out yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always trying it with my wife, but I think she's just like, oh God, here he goes again. So I won't make all the viewers here suffer with any of those just yet. But if I get it down a little better, and see it on some later episodes.
That's fair. That's fair.
But he's always talking about like, they can't even repeal the things that we got done with China and the things we negotiated, because it's so much money coming into the United States. Like, I'm sorry, is that the issue? Like, our trade deals, like, is that really like the crux of things in our economy? Like, how about spend less money than you bring in? How about, let's have a corporate tax rate that like U.S. corporations are actually paying anything in the United States,
right,
because they're actually located here.
Right.
I mean, every major national corporation is, based out of Ireland. They're based out of, British Virgin Islands. They're based out of like, tax haven locations in Europe. And they're not paying huge taxes. There's a holding company, elsewhere where the company's located to, and they charge a management fee or operating fee equal to or more than the profits of that company. And then the company pays nothing because it's not based in the United States, right? And people think that the tax revenue is from our like federal income taxes that we pay as citizens, right? It's such a small fraction,
right?
And really, it's unconstitutional. That's a whole nother debate. But
You're right,
the
though.
federal tax that we pay as individuals not fund our country, right? The taxes that businesses pay in our country fund our country. If we don't have them paying anything because we have huge corporate tax rates, then we're missing out on that tax revenue. And we can see from both sides that neither of them plan on spending any less money. In fact, they want to both increase expenses.
Right. And like you said, in addition to that is just printing more money, to fund our government, and then have interest on the money.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just getting a bigger hole. And like you said, without any end in sight of the spending. So,
but we're going to just skip over all of that on the debate.
Right.
It's just going to be, he said this, she said that. Let's talk about the failed policies at the border. Let's talk about, COVID again. Let's talk about, who has, charges against them as in, and Trump's, the attack that's gone on Trump,
right.
For his criminal charges. And instead of, talking about, I think, real issues in this country. I mean, abortion is a real topic, right? The border is a real topic. Dig a little deeper on some of those things, or get to the point and move on to other items.
Yeah.
They talk about Israel in the debate, and it's just allegations that you're never pro-Israel. You did this, and really, I think that we could have had. I think the moderation was fine, but I think we'd have more pointed questions.
That's what I was kind of getting at is whether it takes the moderators or not, let's actually get to some information where you learn something about but not just what their positions are, but like you said, the situations that, how dire are they as far as at the border and economy and Israel and abortion. And like they just missed a lot of topics. And even the ones they discussed, it really wasn't it wasn't discussed in detail where you actually learn anything. At least I didn't. So that's why when I was saying it was a miss, it just wasn't positive. I didn't learn anything. And this is regardless of what side of the aisle you're on. I don't know. It was almost like I'd really like to forget it and have a different one where I actually feel like I learned something. To me, it was just like a waste of 2 hours. Truly.
I liked I liked watching it. It was a little hard to watch some of it because I knew that Trump could do so many things so much better. But I liked watching it in general. I thought it was, a more entertaining debate, and I did again think it was pretty well moderated. Minus some of the stuff that was a little unfair. But my wife always has this quote that she likes to Wayne Gretzky quote, and she's in sales, right? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? But if you miss all of them 100% of the time, why are you still taking the shot? And my question is for the moderators, why are you asking these yes/no questions out of these politicians that are never going to give you a yes/no answer? Because you look tough saying it's a yes or no question. They're never going to give you a yes/no answer.
Never.
Harris isn't giving one. Trump isn't giving one. They asked both candidates yes/no questions. And when do they ever just go yes?
Never. Yeah, bad question asking because you know how they're going to answer. It's not the way they're asking them to answer, basically. But maybe in the next debate, if there is one, we'll learn about the golf handicaps. That's, I think, we'll be circling back to that. I think that's what we're worried about. So,
well, they go,
that's what the American people are worried about first. I
don't know if she plays golf. I don't know.
I think she probably does. She's had 3.5 years of a lot of vacation time to try take it up. Maybe she does. Maybe she's good. We'll never know.
Yeah, and when they get that yes/no question too, I kept circling back on this one more time. It's like then they always go back to like whatever was upsetting them about the question prior. But before I answer that, I just want to talk one more time about when Trump said this to the people in this rally in Virginia, or I just want to talk about how she said this and then did this. It's like, there's not a lot of respect for the moderators from either candidate and in any presidential debate, really, is
For
there?
sure. No, never.
I mean, I guess you don't want the leader of the free world to be a pushover, but I think you do want some structure.
Yes, that's what it was lacking for me. Structure.
I think I would like to see some yes/no answers from a presidential candidate.
I think most people would if it's especially big topics. Do you agree with XYZ? Yes. No. Oh, okay. Didn't know that. Sometimes it could be at least you start with that and then you explain why. But instead of just going around in circles and then saying something about it totally irrelevant to what the question was.
Yeah, and I think like it's okay for a presidential candidate to be personable and an individual. So like Dave, you could ask me, do you believe in late-term abortions? And I could say no. But the good thing is in America, that's not the president's decision. And we've made that a state's decision. And that's for you to vote on as an American. My personal belief is no. But if the president could say, the candidates could say that. They could say yes, but here's the good news is that you don't have to agree with me on this item. You can vote in your state to have it your way in your state.
Right, like basically explaining like even if it's not my own personal view, I'm not going to impose that view on you. It's up to the states. You can go vote as you want. And I think that's where it can come to polarized, where people don't understand like they don't necessarily have to have policies that agree with just what they personally believe.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
we never.
I
get
wish
that.
more people thought like that. As a whole, the American people are very selfish voters. They think about the things that matter to them specifically instead of what's for the betterment of everyone as much as possible, right? Instead of thinking selfishly, think maybe these policies aren't necessarily the best for me, but I see why they're doing it. It helps a ton of people, and it really doesn't hurt me that much or at all. Sure, I'll agree with that. And so I feel like we've all got some growth to do too, not just the two candidates.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to say something that we said on episode 6 one more time for the viewers is that, whether or not I have an opinion one direction or David has an opinion one direction, that it's okay for everyone in America, and that's what makes us Americans, to have different opinions. And that, it's really okay to have open discourse, to discuss things that people disagree on. And it's okay to have a yes/no opinion about something individually, but the thing that makes America beautiful is that we get to have that. We have that right. We have that difference. And that, this is not like a completely one-sided podcast. We'll have, people on here with like the complete opposite views on things. and talk openly about those. You know, I want our podcast to really be about, you know, kind of our freedoms and, you know, open discussions, and not like, you know, we're just going to poke fun at one candidate or the other, or, you know, one political ideology or the other. And that, you know, that's the way of thinking. If you tune into our podcast, you're going to, you know, always hear the same things.
Yeah, I think like you said, it's all about learning, right? And so usually you learn when you learn something that you didn't already know from someone that with a different viewpoint. So you're never gonna learn those things and really process it, and maybe at least see how that person came to their thinking, and then maybe they see why you came to your thinking. And that's, like I said, that's what's great about our country. So I wish, you know, that was easier facilitated nowadays. That it seems people are very divided and whatnot, and unfortunately that's just kind of, it's become very polarizing,
and people just can't get so upset, right?
Correct.
It's you should celebrate difference of opinion in this country. You should celebrate our rights to those differences of opinion in this country, and you should appreciate that people have different ways of thought, because different ways of thought and creativity and different minds coming together from different backgrounds create what makes America the greatest country in the world. And, you know, I think that, you know, we're not saying anything too enlightening over here. You know, we're just a couple guys having fun putting a podcast together. But, you know, I really think that there's a lot of truth to what I just said about that. You know, just don't get so upset. You know, if you're on pro one team or the other, like, you don't have to have like a mental meltdown if something doesn't go your way politically. You know, if Harris wins the election, and keeps kicking Trump's butts in the debates, you know, let's not all just, like, you know, if you're on Team Trump, you know, have a meltdown about that. You know, like, you know, there's a what do you call it? There's a consequence for not doing well in a debate, and that could be losing the election. You know, let's just be realistic. And if you're on the other side, you know, it's not just about poking fun at the other person. It's not about, you know, getting upset about everything. It's really just, you know, a core value of being American. Okay, if things are a little different.
Exactly. No, you hit the nail on the head there for sure. Like, kind of embracing the differences.
Cool. Anything else you want to go over on this debate? I mean, it was
gosh, I mean, I think we covered some pretty good information. We could do a quick couple-minute rundown of some football, like to lighten the mood a little bit.
I tell you what, I'll leave our viewers with here is that as everyone probably maybe knows about me, is I'm an Irish fan. So you know, the underdog probably in the debate was Harris. I mean, her last debate was Pence, and Pence cleaned her clock. I don't think anybody really argues that too much. And I think she was Northern Illinois, and I think she came prepared, and she, you know, handled Trump with her preparation. If, you know, if you're an Irish fan watching that, it was tough. It was a tough loss.
Kind of reminiscent of last Saturday.
So I'll be my college football wrap up analogy.
Fair enough.
One of these days I'll do less analogies, but until then. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Again, like and subscribe. Appreciate you guys watching our podcast, and we'll have much more coming up soon.
Thanks, guys.
Feeling the pulse of what's in the air. Double D